Tommy sat in the back corner of the classroom, trying to make himself invisible. It was a skill he'd learned over the past 2 years at Lincoln Elementary School. The smaller you made yourself, the less likely the other kids were to notice you. But today was different. Today, Mrs. Patterson had just finished announcing the annual spring talent show, and Tommy had done something incredibly stupid. He'd raised his hand. "Well, well," Mrs. Patterson said, looking at the sign-up sheet. "Tommy Chun? Really, Tommy?" The classroom erupted. Not in applause or encouragement, but in that specific kind of laughter that makes your stomach drop and your face burn hot. "What's he gonna do? Stutter the alphabet?" Someone whispered loudly. More laughter followed. Tommy kept his eyes fixed on his desk. His thick glasses slid down his sweaty nose, and he pushed them back up with one finger. It was a nervous habit he'd developed, something he did about 100 times a day. As the other kids rushed out for recess, he took his time packing his books, waiting for the classroom to empty. He could hear them outside, already making jokes. Tommy finally stepped into the hallway, clutching his backpack straps so tight his knuckles turned white. But he was also carrying something else, something he'd kept hidden under his desk all morning. A black violin case, scratched and worn, with a faded sticker of a butterfly on one corner. It had belonged to his grandmother. She'd passed away 2 years ago, back when Tommy was only 6 years old. The violin was the only thing of value his family owned. His mom worked 2 jobs. Mornings at the hospital cafeteria, evenings waiting tables at Joe's diner. Some nights, Tommy didn't see her at all, but he had the violin. And somehow, that felt like enough. He walked toward the old community center on Maple Street. The building had been shut down 3 years ago, but the back door didn't lock properly, and inside, he'd found his sanctuary. "Afternoon." "Young man," a voice called out as Tommy slipped through the back entrance. Tommy jumped, nearly dropping his violin case. But then he relaxed. It was just Mr. Washington, the janitor, an old man with white hair and kind eyes. "Heard you signed up for the talent show," Mr. Washington said. "Word travels fast in this town." Tommy's eyes widened. "How did you—" "My granddaughter goes to Lincoln Elementary. She also said the other kids were giving you a hard time about it." Tommy shrugged, trying to act like it didn't matter. But his eyes were already getting hot and wet. "They don't think I can do it," Tommy whispered. "Can you?" The question hung in the air. Tommy thought about the past 4 months. The hours spent in this dusty room, fingers aching, arms sore from holding the violin. Mr. Washington used to be a music teacher. He'd played violin professionally, too. But an accident had damaged his hands, ending his career. "I don't know," Tommy finally answered. "Maybe?" "Well, that's better than no," Mr. Washington said. "Come on. Show me what you've been working on." Tommy opened his case and lifted out the violin. He positioned it under his chin and began to play. The notes came out shaky at first, uncertain. But then something shifted. The music took over. When he finished, Mr. Washington was quiet for a long moment. "You've been practicing the Vivaldi," he finally said. Tommy nodded. "The 4 seasons, winter. I know it's too hard, but it is too hard," Mr. Washington interrupted. "For most kids your age, it would be impossible. But you're not most kids, are you? The talent show is in 2 weeks. If you're serious about this, really serious, we need to practice every single day. And I'm not going to go easy on you. One mistake, and everyone in that auditorium will know." "I understand," Tommy said. "Those kids are already laughing at you. If you get up on that stage and fail, they'll never let you forget it. Sometimes it's braver to walk away." Tommy thought about the easy path, the safe path. But then he remembered his grandmother's hands on these same strings. "I want to try," Tommy said quietly. Even if I fail, I want to try. Mr. Washington smiled then, a real smile that reached his eyes. All right then, let's get to work. Right now, there was only the music. The next morning, Tommy's alarm went off at 5:30. He rubbed his eyes and reached under his bed for the violin case. His fingers were sore from yesterday's practice, small red marks where the strings had pressed into his skin. But he didn't care. He tiptoed through the tiny apartment, careful not to wake his mother. The violin went into his backpack, hidden under his textbooks. His mom couldn't know about the talent show. Not yet at school, the teasing had gotten worse. Word had spread beyond his classroom. "Hey, violin boy!" Someone shouted as Tommy walked through the hallway. He didn't turn around, just kept walking. During lunch, Tommy sat alone at the corner table near the trash cans. He was halfway through his peanut butter sandwich when 3 boys approached. The leader was Kevin Martinez, an 8th grader who seemed to spend most of his time finding new ways to make smaller kids miserable. "So I heard you're going to play violin at the talent show," Kevin said. Sliding into the seat across from Tommy nodded, not trusting his voice to come out steady. "That's cool, man. Real cool. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be hilarious." "Leave me alone," Tommy managed to say. "Oh, he talks. See, I was worried you were just gonna stutter through your whole performance." Kevin reached across and flicked Tommy's glasses. "You should wear a clown costume. Really complete the whole comedy show vibe." A teacher appeared, and Kevin and his friends scattered. Tommy sat there, his sandwich forgotten, his appetite gone. He wondered if Mr. Washington was right. Maybe it would be braver to just walk away. But then the final bell rang, and Tommy headed to the community center. The moment he walked through that back door, something shifted inside him. Here, nobody laughed. Here, he was just a musician. "You're late," Mr. Washington called from the music room. "We've got work to do." For the next 3 hours, they practiced. Mr. Washington was strict, demanding, almost fierce. "Again," he'd say when Tommy missed a note. "Then this time, feel it. Don't just play the music. Become the music." Tommy didn't fully understand what that meant at first. But slowly, day by day, he started to get it. The violin wasn't just an instrument. It was a voice. His voice. One afternoon, during a water break, Tommy finally asked the question that had been bothering him. "Mr. Washington, why are you helping me?" The old man was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. "You see these hands? 20 years ago, I was playing with the City Symphony Orchestra. I was the youngest first violinist they'd ever had. My whole life was ahead of me." Tommy waited, knowing there was more. One night, we were driving through a snowstorm. The bus hit a patch of ice and went off the road. I was holding my violin case, and when we crashed, it crushed my hands between the seat and the metal frame. 14 surgeries later, I could hold a fork again, but I could never play professionally. Not at that level. "I'm sorry," Tommy whispered. "Don't be sorry. Be grateful. You've got something special, Tommy. I hear it when you play. I lost my chance, but you've still got yours. And I'll be damned if I let you waste it." From that day forward, Tommy practiced like his life depended on it. 4 hours every afternoon, until his fingers bled and his arms shook from exhaustion. At home, Tommy's mom started noticing things. The way he came home later. The way his fingers had calluses. "Everything okay at school, baby?" she asked one night. "Yes, Mom. Everything's fine." She was too exhausted to push. Tommy felt guilty for lying, but he told himself it was for a good reason. 1 week before the talent show, disaster struck. Tommy was at his locker before first period. He'd just closed the door when he felt a hand on his shoulder. Kevin stood there with two of his friends, and they were all grinning. "What's in the locker, violin boy?" Before Tommy could react, Kevin grabbed his backpack and dumped everything onto the floor. Kevin's eyes landed on something. Sheet music. Pages of carefully copied notes for winter. "What's this?" Kevin snatched the papers before Tommy could stop him. "Oh, wow, guys, look." "Give it back," Tommy pleaded. Kevin held them high above his head. Then, with a theatrical flourish, tore them straight down the middle. Then again, and again, until Tommy's sheet music was nothing but confetti. "There you go, maestro," Kevin said. "Good luck with your little concert." They walked away laughing. Tommy knelt there surrounded by torn paper, his vision blurring with tears he refused to let fall. That afternoon, he almost didn't go to the community center. But his feet carried him there anyway. Mr. Washington took one look at Tommy's face and knew something had happened. "Talk to me," he said simply. Tommy told him everything. The bullying, the torn sheet music, Kevin's words. "So what are you going to do?" Mr. Washington asked. Tommy looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you going to quit? Let those boys win?" "But the sheet music." "You don't need the paper, Tommy. You know this piece. You've played it 100 times. The music isn't on those pages. It's here." Mr. Washington tapped his own chest. "That's where real music lives. And that's something nobody can tear up, no matter how hard they try. What if I forget? What if I mess up on stage? Then you mess up. But at least you tried. Your grandmother played this violin through a war. You think she never got scared? You think people never laughed at her?" Tommy took the violin, feeling its familiar weight in his hands. But she played anyway, because that's what real musicians do. We play through the fear. We play through the pain. We play because the music matters more than what anyone thinks about it. Tommy raised the violin to his shoulder. His hands were still shaking, but he closed his eyes and began to play. The torn paper didn't matter. Kevin's laughter didn't matter. There was only the music, and the music was perfect. 3 days before the talent show, Tommy's carefully constructed world started falling apart. It was a Tuesday evening, and his mom had gotten off work early for the first time in weeks. Tommy didn't know this. He was at the community center, deep into his practice session. "Again," Mr. Washington said. "You're rushing the 16th notes." Tommy nodded and raised his bow to start over. That's when he heard it. "Tommy?" His mother stood in the doorway, still wearing her waitress uniform. Her face was a mixture of confusion, hurt, and betrayal. The violin nearly slipped from Tommy's hands. "Mom, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain why you've been lying to me for months?" Mr. Washington stepped forward. "Ma'am, if I could just—" "And who are you? Who are you to be spending time alone with my 8-year-old son without my knowledge?" "Mom, no, it's not like that. Mr. Washington is—" "I don't want to hear it, Tommy. Get your things. We're going home. Now." The car ride back was silent, except for the sound of his mother's angry breathing. Tommy sat in the back seat, his violin case clutched to his chest, watching the streetlights blur past the window. When they got home, his mom finally spoke. "Do you have any idea how scared I was? I came home early, wanted to surprise you. But you weren't here. You weren't anywhere." "I'm sorry," Tommy whispered. "Sorry isn't enough, baby. You lied to me. For months, you've been lying to me." She sank into a kitchen chair. "What were you even doing there?" "He's a music teacher. He's been helping me practice." "Practice for what?" "The talent show. It's this Friday." His mom's expression changed to something closer to pain. "The talent show. With Grandma's violin." Tommy nodded. She was quiet for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. "Tommy, we can't afford dreams right now. Do you understand that?" And that violin, do you know how much it's worth? A couple $1,000, at least. Tommy felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Last month, I had to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. We were 3 days away from having our power shut off. You know how I paid that bill, Tommy? I sold my wedding ring, the only thing I had left from your father. Tommy didn't know what to say. I thought you'd sold that violin months ago. When you told me you'd taken it to that pawn shop, I was so relieved. But you lied to me. You kept it hidden, and now you want to play it in some school talent show? It's not just some show, Mom. It's a waste of time. You think playing violin is going to pay our rent? Wake up, Tommy. This isn't some fairy tale. This is real life, and in real life, people like us don't get happy endings. The words hung in the air like smoke. Tommy felt something break inside his chest. Grandma always said, "Your grandma lived in a different world." But we're here, Tommy. We're here, and we're barely surviving. She stood up and held out her hand. Give me the violin. What? Give it to me. Tomorrow, I'm taking it to that pawn shop. It's time to be practical. No. The word came out stronger than Tommy expected. No, I won't. Excuse me? This was Grandma's. She gave it to me. She made me promise to take care of it. I can't just sell it. Tommy, don't make this harder than it has to be. Please, Mom, just let me play at the talent show. Just this one time. Then I'll do whatever you want. You don't get it. There's always going to be one more performance. It ends now. It's all I have of her. Don't you understand? When I play, I feel close to her. The violin is all I have. That's mine. That's good. That makes me feel like maybe I'm worth something. His mom froze. For a moment, Tommy thought he saw her resolve weaken. But then she blinked, and her face went cold again. Go to your room. We'll talk about this in the morning. Tommy ran to his bedroom and shut the door. He could hear his mom crying in the kitchen, but he didn't go to her. Instead, he curled up on his bed, still clutching the violin case, and cried himself to sleep. The next morning, Tommy woke up early. Before his mom could wake up, he grabbed his backpack and the violin and left for school. He couldn't face her. Not yet. At school, everything felt wrong. He moved through his classes like a ghost. At lunch, he just sat in the bathroom stall, trying to figure out what to do. That afternoon, he went to the community center like always. Mr. Washington was already waiting. Your mother called me, he said. Tommy's heart sank. What did she say? She wanted to know if I was some kind of predator. I explained who I was, what we've been doing. I think I convinced her I'm not a threat. But Tommy, she's worried about you. And honestly, I'm starting to think maybe she's right. What do you mean? I've been so focused on the music that I didn't stop to think about what this might cost you. Your relationship with your mother, your family's financial situation. Maybe this whole thing was a mistake. Don't say that. Please don't say that. You're 8 years old. You should be playing with friends, doing kid stuff. Not practicing violin 4 hours a day with an old man who's trying to relive his glory days through you. That's not what this is. Isn't it? What happens after the talent show? You can't afford lessons. Your family needs money, not music. Tommy felt tears welling up again. So what are you saying? I should just give up? I'm saying maybe your mom is right. Maybe some dreams are too expensive to keep. I'm not giving up. I don't care what anyone says. I'm playing at that talent show. Tommy, I'm playing. Even if you won't help me anymore. Even if my mom takes the violin away afterward. I'm playing. Because Grandma wouldn't have given up. And I'm going to play too. Mr. Washington studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. Well, If you're going to be stubborn about it, I guess we better make sure you're ready. We've only got 2 days left." For the first time in 24 hours, Tommy felt something like hope. He opened his case, lifted out his grandmother's violin, and together they began to play. Asterisk. Friday arrived faster than Tommy expected and slower than he wanted. He barely slept the night before, lying in bed and running through every note of winter in his mind. His mom hadn't spoken to him much since their argument. They existed in the same apartment, like strangers. The violin sat in the corner of Tommy's bedroom, and neither of them mentioned it. That morning, Tommy put on his best clothes. A button-up shirt that used to belong to some cousin, pants that were slightly too short, and shoes he'd polished the night before. He looked at himself in the mirror and tried to see what other people would see on that stage tonight. A small kid with glasses too big for his face. Clothes that didn't quite fit. Nothing special. He grabbed his backpack, carefully placed the violin inside, and headed for the door. His mom's bedroom door was closed. She had the late shift today, which meant she wouldn't be at the talent show. Tommy told himself he was fine with that, but it did matter. At school, the energy was different. Kids were buzzing with excitement about the talent show. Tommy's name was near the bottom of the list, easy to miss. "Big night, violin boy," Kevin said as Tommy passed his locker. "We've got a betting pool going on how long you'll last before you run off stage crying." Tommy didn't respond. He just kept walking. The day crawled by. Every class felt like it lasted 3 hours. During lunch, Tommy couldn't eat. His stomach was twisted in knots. He sat in his usual spot, watching other performers practice their acts. None of them looked nervous. They all looked excited, happy, confident. Tommy wondered if he was the only one who felt like throwing up. The final bell rang at 3 o'clock. The talent show would start at 7. Tommy had nowhere to go. His mom was at work. Instead, he went to the community center one last time. Mr. Washington was waiting in the music room, and he wasn't alone. He'd brought folding chairs, set them up like a tiny audience. "What's this?" Tommy asked. "A dress rehearsal. You need to practice performing, not just playing. There's a difference." For the next 2 hours, Mr. Washington made Tommy perform the piece over and over. He'd sit in different chairs, cough during quiet parts, shuffle his feet during slow sections. He created every distraction Tommy might face. Again, and this time, don't let me distract you. When you're on that stage, there's only you and the music. Nothing else exists. By the 6th run-through, Tommy was exhausted. But something had shifted. He was no longer thinking about the notes. He was feeling them. When he finished the final practice, Mr. Washington stood up and clapped. "That's it. That's the one. Do exactly that tonight, and you'll be fine." "What if I forget?" Tommy asked. "Then you make it up. You improvise. You keep going. The audience doesn't know what's supposed to happen. If you mess up and keep playing like nothing happened, they'll never know the difference." Tommy checked the clock. 6:15. He needed to get back to school. "Mr. Washington, thank you for everything." The old man smiled, and his eyes looked wet. "Thank you, Tommy, for reminding me why I loved music in the first place." The walk back to Lincoln Elementary took 20 minutes. With each step, Tommy's heart beat faster. By the time he reached the school, the parking lot was already filling up with cars. Tommy slipped in through the side entrance and headed backstage. The hallway was chaos. Kids were everywhere, practicing last-minute moves, adjusting costumes, warming up their voices. "Tommy, there you are." Mrs. Patterson looked frazzled. "You're performing 8th, right after the Rodriguez twins. Make sure you're ready backstage by Act 6. Tommy found a quiet corner backstage and sat down with his violin. He could hear the auditorium filling up. Voices, laughter, the scraping of chairs. His hands started shaking. "Hey," Tommy looked up. It was Lisa, the girl who was singing tonight. "You okay?" "You look kind of pale." "Just nervous," Tommy managed to say. "Yeah, me too. I almost threw up in the bathroom. My mom says everyone gets stage fright. It means you care." Before Tommy could respond, the lights flickered. That was the signal. The show was about to start. Through a gap in the curtain, Tommy could see the auditorium. Every seat was filled. His eyes scanned the crowd, looking for one face. Even though he knew she wouldn't be there. The principal walked onto the stage, and the crowd quieted down. She gave a little speech about creativity and supporting young talent. The first act started. A magic show. The audience clapped and cheered. Then a comedy sketch. More laughter. The Rodriguez twins did their dance routine and got a standing ovation. Tommy's hands wouldn't stop shaking. He tried to remember everything Mr. Washington taught him. It didn't help. "Tommy Chun, you're next," Mrs. Patterson whispered urgently. "Get ready." Act 7 was finishing up. A girl singing a pop song. The song ended to thunderous applause. The girl took her bow and practically skipped off stage. Mrs. Patterson gave Tommy a gentle push. "You're on. Go." Tommy walked onto the stage, and the world tilted sideways. The lights were blinding. He couldn't see individual faces in the crowd, just a sea of dark shapes. The stage felt massive, like a desert he had to cross alone. He walked to the center. Someone had placed a music stand there, even though he didn't need it. He stood beside it, holding his grandmother's violin, and looked out at the crowd. That's when he heard it. The laughter. It started in the third row. A snicker, quickly covered up. Then another. Then more. Within seconds, it rippled through the entire auditorium. Kids were laughing, some trying to hide it, others not bothering. Tommy knew why. The too small clothes, the oversized glasses, the old, beaten-up violin. He probably looked ridiculous. Kevin and his friends were in the third row, grinning, waiting for the show to start. The real show. The comedy act of Tommy embarrassing himself. Mrs. Patterson stood in the wings, her expression concerned. She looked ready to walk out and stop the whole thing. Tommy's hands were shaking so badly now that the violin trembled. His vision blurred. Every instinct screamed at him to run. He thought about his mom, working the dinner shift right now. He thought about Mr. Washington, who believed in him. He thought about his grandmother, who'd carried this violin across an ocean. The laughter was getting louder. People were starting to whisper, wondering if the weird, quiet kid was just going to stand there all night. Tommy closed his eyes, took one deep breath, and raised the violin to his shoulder. The laughter continued. Some people were already pulling out their phones, ready to record what they assumed would be a disaster. Tommy placed his bow on the strings. His hands were still shaking. His heart was still racing. But then he drew the bow across the strings, and the first note of winter rang out clear and pure and absolutely perfect. And everything changed. The laughter died in seconds. It didn't fade slowly. It just stopped, like someone had flipped a switch. One moment, the auditorium was filled with snickers. The next, there was nothing but the sound of Tommy's violin. Tommy kept his eyes closed. He couldn't bear to look at their faces. So instead, he disappeared into the music. His fingers moved across the strings with impossible confidence. The bow flowed like water, drawing out notes that were crisp and clean and heartbreakingly beautiful. This wasn't just music. This was emotion made audible. This was winter itself, captured in sound. The opening measures were sharp and biting, like wind cutting across frozen ground. Tommy's whole body moved with the rhythm. His grandmother's violin sang in his hands. In the third row, Kevin's grin had completely vanished. His mouth hung open. The friends beside him sat frozen, unable to process what they were hearing. Mrs. Patterson stood in the wings with tears streaming down her face. She'd been teaching for 20 years, had seen hundreds of talent shows, but she'd never heard anything like this. Tommy moved into the second movement, the tempo increasing. His fingers flew across the fingerboard so fast they blurred. The notes climbed higher and higher, building tension, creating a storm of sound. A woman in the fourth row pulled out her phone and started recording. Then another person did the same. Then another. Soon, dozens of phones were up. Tommy didn't know. Couldn't know. He was somewhere else entirely, lost in the music. He was 8 years old and playing with his grandmother, before his father left, before money got tight, before the world got hard. The third movement began, slower now, melancholic. This was the heart of winter. Tommy's playing became softer, more delicate, each note hanging in the air like a snowflake dot in the audience. A little girl started crying. She didn't know why. She was only 6 and didn't understand classical music. But something about the sound made her chest hurt in a way that felt both sad and beautiful. Her mother pulled her close, tears in her own eyes, and whispered, "It's okay, baby. Sometimes music just makes us feel things." Tommy's arms were burning now. His fingers ached. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. He was almost at the finale. The tempo picked up again, building momentum like an avalanche. Faster and faster, the notes tumbling over each other. Tommy's bow moved so quickly, it was almost invisible. And then, the final note. One long, sustained note that seemed to hang in the air forever. He held it until his arm trembled, until his lungs burned, until there was nothing left to give. Then silence, complete and total silence. Tommy slowly lowered the violin, opening his eyes for the first time. His glasses had fogged up slightly. Through the blur, he could see the audience, rows and rows of people, all staring at him. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Tommy felt panic rising. Had he messed up? Had it been terrible? Then, from the very back, someone stood up. An old man with white hair, Mr. Washington. The sound broke the spell. Suddenly, everyone was standing. The entire auditorium rose to their feet, and the applause crashed over Tommy like a wave. It wasn't polite clapping. It was thunderous, overwhelming. People were shouting. Some were crying. The principal was wiping her eyes. Teachers were hugging each other. Kids who'd never spoken to Tommy were screaming his name. Kevin sat in the third row, still frozen, his face pale. He wasn't clapping. He couldn't. For the first time in his life, he'd seen what real talent looked like, what real courage looked like. And it made him feel small. Tommy stood on the stage, overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. Mrs. Patterson rushed out and gently guided him to the center, whispering, "Take a bow, sweetie. You deserve it." He bowed awkwardly, his glasses nearly falling off, and the applause got even louder. When he straightened up, he saw people filming him, saw the principal making her way to the stage, saw faces looking at him with something he'd never seen before. Respect. But then, something else caught his eye. Near the side entrance, a figure in a waitress uniform was pushing through the crowd. His mother. Her face was streaked with tears, moving toward the stage. Their eyes met across the auditorium, and Tommy saw everything he needed to see: pride, wonder, love, and something like an apology. The rest of the talent show continued, but nobody was really paying attention. When the show finally ended and awards were announced, Tommy won first place by unanimous decision. But the trophy wasn't what mattered. What mattered was his mom, waiting by the stage door, pulling him into a hug so tight He could barely breathe. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was scared and tired, and I forgot that dreams aren't a luxury. They're what keep us alive." "It's okay, Mom," Tommy said. "No, it's not okay. But it will be. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way for you to keep playing. Your grandma would want that." Mr. Washington appeared beside them. "If I may, I have some connections at the Music Conservatory downtown. They offer scholarships for talented students. With your permission, ma'am, I'd like to help Tommy apply." Tommy's mom looked at the old man, really looked at him, and seemed to see past her initial fear. She saw someone who cared, who understood. "I'd appreciate that," she said quietly. "Thank you." 3 weeks later, a video of Tommy's performance had been viewed over 2 million times. News stations picked it up. People shared it with captions like, "Never judge a book by its cover," and "This kid is incredible." Tommy got his scholarship. Full ride to the Youth Conservatory. His mom adjusted her schedule so she could drive him to lessons. At school, everything changed. Not overnight, and not completely. But the bullying stopped. Kevin never apologized directly, but he stopped targeting Tommy. More than that, he started shutting down other kids when they tried to make fun of anyone. One day, a few months after the talent show, Kevin approached Tommy at lunch. Tommy tensed, waiting for an insult. But Kevin just stood there awkwardly. "Hey," he said finally. "I was wondering if maybe you could teach me something. About music, I mean. I don't have money for lessons or anything, but I thought maybe—" Tommy looked at him for a long moment. He thought about all the torn sheet music, all the laughter, all the cruelty. Part of him wanted to say no, but then he remembered what Mr. Washington had taught him. That music wasn't about keeping score or holding grudges. It was about sharing something beautiful. "Sure," Tommy said. "Everyone deserves a chance." Kevin's face lit up with genuine relief. "Really? Thanks, man. I mean it." As Kevin walked away, Tommy felt something loosen in his chest. Something that had been tight and angry for a long time. He realized that forgiveness wasn't about letting Kevin off the hook. It was about freeing himself from the weight of all that hurt. That night, Tommy practiced in his bedroom, his grandmother's violin singing in the small space. His mom was home, doing paperwork at the kitchen table, and she paused to listen. The music drifted through their tiny apartment, filling it with warmth and light. Outside, the world kept turning. Bills still needed to be paid. Life was still hard. But inside that apartment, for those few minutes, there was only beauty. And sometimes, beauty is enough. Sometimes, it's everything.